All right, it's 4 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And I will work on getting the recorder working as soon as I can. So go ahead, Tom.
Welcome to the February 15th, 2022 City of Oshkosh Plan Commission meeting. I see we do have a quorum. A few housekeeping items to cover before we begin. Please silence your cell phone and other electronic devices. Please also utilize the mute function on your phone or screen to eliminate background noises and potential sound feedback. To speak on an item that is listed as a public hearing, please use the raised hand function to the right on your video screen. If available to you, I will call in the order I see after the public hearing has been declared open. If you do not have the ability to raise your hand, please respectfully request to speak without interrupting the current speaker. During a public hearing, you will be allowed to address the Plan Commission after the applicant has made an opening statement. You must state your name and address for the record before speaking. You will be allowed to speak on each agenda item only once unless Plan Commission members ask you for clarification or a follow-up question. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a final chance to speak. As this is a virtually attended meeting, all voting items will require a roll call vote. On to the roll call, please.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Here.
Miss Davy,
Here.
Councilmember Ford,
Here.
Mr. Kiefer, Mr. Marshall, Miss Prop,
Here.
Miss Shireman,
Here.
Mr. Spanbauer, Vice Chair Mitchell,
Here.
Chairperson Perry,
Here.
8 present.
Thank you. We have approval of the February 1st, 2022 minutes. What do you have, Plan Commission?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion on minutes? Otherwise, on to roll call. All right, let's have the roll call.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Zone change from single family residential 5 and SR 5 to single family residential 9 SR 9 for property located east of the eastern end of Farmington Avenue. Wildflower Development Group is the petitioner. Sections.
Looks like we're losing Tom. Mr. Mitchell, would you be so kind of take over till we get Tom back?
Sure. Yeah, I was wondering if it was him or not. So, this is Mitch Nordahl, Wildflower.
Sorry, Mr. Mitchell, Justin Mitchell, one of the Plan Commission members, will take over running the meeting.
Perfect. Sorry.
Mark, I may be back.
Again.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now, Tom. May
All
want to
right.
just leave your video off to see if that helps you.
Yep. I left the video off. So we have Wildflower Development Group. I don't know if it was called, so let's do it again. Public hearing, zone change from single family residential 5 SR 5 to single family residential 9 SR 9 for property located east of the eastern end of Farmington Avenue. Wildflower Development Group as the petitioner. Have there been any site inspections?
Like Mr. Mitchell, that is the only one I see.
Okay, I only see one. We will accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, present your summary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is a zone change from SR5 to SR9 on a vacant parcel on the east of the end of Farmington Avenue. On the screen is an existing land use map. The petitioner is proposing to subdivide the lot via plat to create a higher density single family subdivision with smaller lots, not typically found in more traditional single family subdivisions. This should look familiar. Last month, Plan Commission reviewed and recommended approval for a comprehensive land use map amendment, changing the property from general commercial to light density residential. Common Council is expected to take action on the map amendment on March 8th of 2022. The surrounding area, as you look at the map, is single family to the north and west, vacant land to the east, and automobile service facility to the south. Late last year, the petitioner approached the city about developing a single-family residential subdivision on this lot. And the goal was to create a higher density subdivision. Up on the screen are two different draft plats of what can potentially take place there. On the left side, with the proposed SR9 zoning, the petitioner is able to subdivide the 5-acre parcel into approximately 28 lots. And with the existing SR5 zoning, with the larger lot size requirement, the petitioner would only be able to subdivide 18 lots. The staff feels the proposed zone change and plat is consistent with the surrounding land uses, especially to the north and west of the subject site, and is a good transition to the commercial uses along Jackson Street. Staff feels staff is aware that there is a shortage of single-family lots in this area of the city, and demand is increasing for single-family lots. And in addition, the proposed smaller lot size will provide a less expensive option to prospective homeowners. And as the city works to encourage more affordable housing options for new construction. So upon a review of this request, staff supports the proposed zone change. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the zone change from single family residential 5 to single family residential 9 as requested.
Thank you for your report. Okay, Plan Commission, technical questions to the staff. Justin, I saw your hand.
Thank you. I was just curious, I understand that one of the notions for this is the reduced price or cost of the home. Have they provided the number comparisons, such as if it were to be developed as is versus the reduced price with the reduced lot sizes?
The petitioner is here. You can ask him.
Sure, we can get to that later then.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ms. Shireman, you're up next.
My question is there something even smaller than this? Like, is there a minimum size a lot can be in? I'm assuming there is in the city of Oshkosh. Like, are we approaching that?
Yeah, with the SR9 zoning, the minimum lot size is 40 feet wide at the right-of-way line, or actually 40 feet wide at the setback line, and 4,500 square feet in area, compared to the current SR5 zoning, which has a minimum lot width of 60 feet and the area of 7,200 square feet.
Right, but is there one smaller? Like, can it go? Is there something beyond SR9?
No, SR9 is the most dense single-family district the city has.
It's a great segue into something we're going to be talking about during the workshop tonight of the housing study and some of the recommendations coming out of that.
Fair enough. So that's good to know. Do we have other SR9s in the city?
There is SR9. When we did the zoning update in 2017, we zoned areas of the city that were appropriate based on existing lot conditions. So yes, there are SR9 areas within the city.
Fair enough. Thank you.
But this would be the first SR9 rezoning committed to a new development.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. One other follow-up, or I guess item from our workshop. Has there been any progress or any additional information available regarding parkland development in that area? I know it's not specific to what planning staff was doing, but if it's not available at this point, is there somehow we can request that a plan be brought back or just an update be provided?
Yeah, if the petitioner moves forward with a preliminary plat, the Parks Director will be involved in those decisions, either accepting land or taking fees in lieu of. So yeah, as this develops, you'll be notified from the Parks Department.
Yep, and I did reach out to the Parks Director to start that conversation with anticipating that at some point this project may move forward. And they'll be able to weigh in a lot more if a primary plat is filed, because then there's some of the review and technical details we'll have in that primary plat to start that discussion further. But I did have a very high level discussion with him already on it.
Thank you.
Okay, Plan Commission, any additional technical questions to the planning staff? Okay, seeing none, I will open the public comment period and request the statement from the applicant.
Are you there, Mitch?
Yep, sorry. So I guess we're kind of going forward with this project in the planning of the SR9. What we found was with the SR5 zoning, the number of lots available would not get us to the final house price point that we're trying to meet for this particular project and affordable housing. As we all know, affordable housing nowadays, definitely in new construction means less than 300,000. Our as of 2021, when we started this project, is in the 250,000 to 270,000 range for housing. We have other projects throughout there's another one started in South Oshkosh, similar pricing. I think they're coming to market at 279 or something close to that. So we're really trying to push that affordable envelope, and we're seeing an opportunity here with the smaller lot sizes. And the other thing that the staff notes doesn't note, but also provides a lot of value to us, is even with a 60-foot wide lot in SR9 zoning, we can provide a larger footprint, such as a ranch house on that lot, because we gain an extra, I believe it's 5 feet that we can work with the two different lot lines. So in SR5 zoning, you have 7.5 foot side setbacks. In SR9 zoning, there's 5 foot setbacks to the lot lines on the sides. So that's really another major part that we're working to achieve with this zoning as well.
Mr. Nordahl, that was you speaking, correct?
That is correct.
Could you state for the record who you're representing for our notes, please, our minutes?
Yep, Wildflower Development Group.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the petitioner has spoken. Now I am here to request additional public comment. Please use the raise hand feature if you can. If you can't, please gently interrupt when somebody is done speaking. Any additional public comment on this item? For the last time, any additional public comment for this item? Okay, having seen none, I'm going to close the public comment period. I will ask for a closing statement from the applicant. However, it is not necessary for the applicant to speak. Applicant, would you like to make a closing statement?
I would just appreciate your guys' time, and so far, things are going well, and I'm hoping that we have an opportunity to work together on this project.
Thank you. Okay, Plan Commission, I need some type of action on this item.
Tom, can I ask the applicant a question, or do you want me to wait until we have it on the floor?
Let's wait till we have it on the floor.
Sounds good. Mitch will make a motion to adopt the recommendations and findings as stated in the staff report.
Second, Shireman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. It is now on the floor. We have plan commission discussion on the motion. Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. I understand that the specific dollar amounts may not be achievable at current, and in particular construction costs changing by the day, but we've thrown out a general notion that by doing this, one of the main benefits is an improved affordability. I just haven't seen any numbers anywhere that show what the difference or what the gain is. And so, I mean, I'll support this on a general vague idea, but it would be great if there was an ability to even give a general cost estimate of, you know, this is going to reduce each lot by 5%, 10%. You know, I don't know. I haven't seen any numbers.
Yeah, so I guess to provide a little bit of commentary on that, based off of what we're currently seeing, subdivisions being put in now, and you know where we're at, it's about 10,000 a lot difference in just basically the manufacturing process, right, of those lots. So to go from 28 lots to 18 on this particular parcel with the purchase price, the cost of the streets, all that other stuff, it's about 10,000 a lot is what we're seeing the difference in, which is pretty significant with an affordable house and the market that we're going to be at.
Thank you, Mr. Nordall. Any other discussion from the Plan Commission on this motion? I see none, so we have a roll call vote to make.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Shireman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye,
Motion carried 9-0.
thank you. Item number 2, general development plan and specific implementation plan for commercial development at the 200 block of Ohio Street. The petitioner is Forward Real Estate Services. And have there been any site inspections by Plan Commission members? Mr. Perry, Ms. Prop. Okay, I recognize the 2 site inspections. I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, present your summary, please.
Thank you. So this is a GDP and SIP request. The subject site is a vacant lot with frontage on Ohio Street, east of the Witzel Avenue intersection. The property is zoned riverfront mixed use district with a planned development overlay, and the surrounding area is primarily commercial uses and the Fox River to the north. The applicant is proposing development of a 605 square foot drive-through coffee shop with a 10-stall parking lot, including a patio and walk-up service window. And the site will utilize the existing shared access from Ohio Street. Next slide, please. So here's the site plan. It will have, again, we'll have the access coming off the existing shared driveway, coming to the north of that, and we'll have a drive-through lane wrapping around the building. The applicant is requesting a base standard modification to allow reduced front yard setback for the drive-through lane to 7.9 feet, where code requires a 10-foot setback. Staff is supportive of that requested BSM, as there is a water easement that runs through the property and restricts the ability to move that drive-through and building further to the east. To offset that, the applicant is showing evergreen shrubs and medium deciduous trees between the right-of-way and drive-through lane to buffer that reduced setback. The applicant is also requesting a BSM for reduced stacking length of the drive-through lane from the code required 100 feet in front of the order station to 80 feet. The applicant states that they will have 8 total vehicles for the drive-through lane, and that will provide proper on-site vehicle stacking with the typical 2.5-minute wait time. Staff is also supportive of this BSM due to the same site constraints with that water main easement running through the property. Staff has received concerns from a tenant of the neighboring office park to the east and south regarding safety of the shared access to the site. Specifically, they've noted concerns that the coffee shop will have peak morning hours and be utilizing the shared driveway at the same time as most of the traffic to the office buildings nearby. So planning staff forwarded these concerns to Transportation Director Jim Collins, and we looked into this, and currently there is not a crash history at the private drive entrance. Also, there is an existing access to the shared parking lot for the office buildings further to the south. So with that additional existing access, that should alleviate some of the traffic concerns there as well. For landscaping, next slide, please. For building foundations, the applicant is requesting a BSM to allow 0 points on the street-facing side, where code requires 25% of the points to be placed. Staff is supportive of that BSM as there's patio area around the front side of the building that would kind of restrict the usable area for landscaping on that side of the building. Also, they're exceeding the point requirement for street frontage landscaping, so that's on the same side of the building, and they're also exceeding the main entrance side, to the south side, point requirements for building foundation landscaping. So that'll also serve to offset that reduction on the front side. And they are meeting paved area, street frontage, and yard landscaping requirements. Next slide, please. So here are their signage plans. The plans include wall signage on the front and rear facades and roof-mounted signage and a wall logo on the side facades. Also, they will be utilizing an existing shared ground sign, adding a tenant panel for the business. The applicant is requesting a BSM for the proposed roof signage on the north and south sides of the building. And the applicant states that that proposed roof signage is needed as the small building footprint limits available area for wall signage. However, staff feels that the applicant could further utilize wall area, kind of where the logos are shown in the wall, to identify the business rather than using roof signage. The front and rear facades show wall signage which exceed the maximum area. The maximum area for those facades would be 16.5 feet based on the linear footage, and the applicant is proposing 20.8 square feet. They have noted that that additional signage is needed for visibility from the public right-of-way. Staff is supportive of that BSM to allow the slightly larger wall signs on those facades due to the minimal linear footage. Also, the building will be exceeding setback requirements, and that results in the building being further from the streets with the signage being less visible. For menu signage, the applicant is requesting a BSM for a pre-menu board in addition to the menu board, and code allows a maximum of 1 daily notice sign, so they will have 2 needing the BSM for that. And the applicant has noted that pre-menu board sign is needed for seasonal or special menu options. They're also requesting a BSM for the size of the main menu board, which will be 32 square feet, where the maximum is 24 square feet. And the applicant noted that that's needed as the drive-through sign area is needed to be increased to effectively display Caribou's products on the menu board. So staff is supportive of the second drive-through sign for the pre-menu board, as that will support sufficient use of the drive-through, and also supportive of the increased drive-through area to 32 square feet, as both the menu board and pre-menu board will be facing east away from the public right-of-way. They will be only minimally visible from Ohio Street. Next slide, please. The applicant is requesting a BSM for a slight increase in lighting levels along the right-of-way. The maximum at the property line is 0.5 foot candles, and in one small area along the drive-through, they're showing 0.8 foot candles, which will just be a little bit of an increase along the sidewalk. So staff is supportive of that BSM, as it's only going to be a minor increase, and again, only going into the public right-of-way. Next slide, please. And here are the building elevations. They are meeting the Class 1 material requirements for all, or for the front and side facades, and so they are meeting the overall design standard requirements for commercial buildings. So with that, staff recommends approval of the GDP and SIP with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
Thank you for your report. Are there any technical questions from the Plan Commission to the staff? Mr. Mitchell, your hand is raised.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Just a quick question about the easement. I don't know if you want to grab that map up, but I was hoping you could help me understand the difference between the drive area. Well, if you can go to the whole, even further, the colored one that I think it has some of the landscaping in, and I'm on page right before all the mailing addresses.
And that may or may not be in our PowerPoint.
Page.
This
Okay.
one, you can see it here.
Right, you can see it a little bit. So I'm curious, one of the ideas was we could push the driveway back but we couldn't because of the easements. And I'm curious what the difference is between a driveway crossing, from the back heading west, what the difference is between that and that roadway that is, I can't really point, but just to the southeast of those tree shrubs or whatever those are supposed to be, the spiky drawings. It looks like we drive across it anyways right there. So I'm curious why we can there, but we can't 20 feet up.
Yep. And city engineer Justin Garrett can kind of help answer that for you.
So are you asking to slide the driveway opening, if you will? Now again, it's on private property, not the right of way, but sliding that to the east a little bit. Is that what you're kind of asking?
More so, I'm trying to understand, one of the rationales for it having to be there is we couldn't put it elsewhere because of the easement. And I'm just trying to understand why we're able to drive across an easement in one area and 20 feet up or not.
So the main reason why the site is kind of crammed to the south and west is because and you kind of see, I don't know, Mark, if you want to kind of go on that dashed line that runs kind of northwest or northwest, southeast, for basically that corridor there to the north is a sanitary sewer interceptor. It's the largest here in the city that basically picks up over half of the north side. It gets pumped across from the Bowen station and then to this point. So this picks up most of the north side of the city and a large portion of the south side. So typically we don't have a problem allowing developments, encroachment agreements to get in and work inside the easements. The problem I have with it is if we ever have to do work on that interceptor, whether it's a repair or installation of a new, their fundamental part of their business, being a drive-through coffee shop, would be eliminated. Basically no access. So that is why they've been directed to stay out of that easement area.
Got it. So it's not so much that it couldn't happen, it's that it would be smart to not do it because of the use of the property. And okay, that makes sense.
And that's why to the southeast of here there is parking and for all those developments kind of along the river there. There's parking lot there, but the parking lots, well, they would have to find new parking at such time we would have to be in there. That's available. This would actually not have a driveway or drive-through entrance at that point in time if they were within that easement area.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other technical questions from the Planning Commission to the staff? I see none. So we are going to open the public comment now and request a statement from the applicant. Does the applicant wish to speak? Please make sure you state your name, address, who you represent. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, this is Mark Johnson. I'm with Forward Real Estate Services. We have offices in Minneapolis and Sedona, Arizona. We're the applicant developer of this project. We've been working with Mark and Brian and others in your staff to, basically arrive at this plan. The easement as discussed earlier, was a big driver or constraint of the property. I think the site's about 0.8 acres, and really we're just able to develop only a portion of that in the southwest quadrant. The building, the primary business for the building is reliant upon the drive-through. There are 10 car parks and the patio bike rack for the more favorable times of the year when people can visit and place an order at the walk-up window. Caribou has about 25 of these open now, primarily in Minnesota. There's a couple in western Wisconsin, but we are excited about this location. I really like this location a lot, being on the AM side of Ohio Street and being part of this business park. It kind of fills in the whole of the donut here in terms of the lots that were laid out. We're hoping to get started with construction here late April, early May, and hope to have Caribou open by end of September, early October. And I'm available for any other questions that you may have.
And thank you, Mr. Johnson. At this time, I'd like to have the chance for the public to provide any additional comment. Is there anybody in our meeting that would like to provide some additional comment during the public comment period? Mr. Harry, you have your hand up.
Mr. Harry, it does look like you're muted. You will have to click the microphone button to unmute yourself.
Okay, gotcha. There, is that good now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, my name is David Harry. I am the dentist across the parking lot from that. And I have to say, I strongly object to this project. Two problems with it. One is it's an office park, and a place like Caribou Coffee goes against the covenants of the office park. So I really don't think it can be done for that reason. McDonald's tried to come in a long time ago and we're not able to, and I don't know why it should change now that we should have a coffee shop. More than that, though, my objection is what it's going to do to traffic in the area. That's a very, very busy, not well laid out intersection out there, and running who knows how many cars through that bad entrance to our parking lot is going to be a huge problem. And you are going to decimate the flow of traffic through the Witzel and Wisconsin Avenue or Ohio Street intersection. And I really see huge problems with this. I don't know how you guys handle this or if you're even going to listen to me, but I think these are very significant things. And I think if more people knew about this in the office park, they would have been here also and objected to this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris. During the public comment period. Any other individuals want to during the period? I am seeing none, so therefore I will close the public comment period. I will ask if the applicant would like to make a closing statement.
This is Mark Johnson again. I just want to thank you all for working with us and considering our application, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Plan Commission, I need some commission action on this item.
Motion to adopt the findings as recommendation is stated in the staff report. Rob?
Kiefer, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the findings. We are now on to commission discussion on the motion. Are there any, well, there are plenty of Plan Commission members that have a hand up. Ms. Prop, we will call on you first.
Yes, this business about the covenant, of course, is an issue. Mark,
So if there are
beyond
private,
the covenant, I don't see any problem with this. Even though the coffee shop, yes, maybe not a desired use by tenants in the office park, maybe it is, but how do you suggest the plan commission proceed with that information?
yeah, so if there are private covenants, they are not party to the city, and they would need to be privately enforced between owners within the park. So the city could still proceed with action based on zoning, which is what we regulate. And then if they do have covenants that would prohibit it, that would be a matter that the owner of the property and the tenants of the park would need to figure out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Prop. Mr. Marshall.
So, thank you. So I think that this seems like a good use of this space for something like this. It's kind of in a dry area, in terms of just nothing around to be able to, get a cup of coffee if you want to. So I don't have an issue so much about what would go there. I guess my concern is just, as somebody that does go into that parking lot from time to time in the busiest hours of the morning, I am concerned a little bit about the traffic flow. I was just at the community foundation the other day thinking about this, and when I pull in, I mean, how do we know that's not a concern? Has the surveying been done? Do we know that traffic flow is not going to be a concern? Am I going to be waiting to get into that parking lot? How would I get around a line that's 8 or 9 deep to get to the foundation or to a dentist office?
So staff did take a little bit of a look at it, and there are actually two access drives into that parking lot, and I think it's actually just off of our map that we have here, but I was going to see if I can show you where it is. Typically, it's basically just south of this building at the south side of the screen. There is a second access drive that comes into those parking lots. Typically, what we see in situations like this is especially tenants of the southern two buildings or three buildings based on the CSM, tenants start to go south to get in. We have about a 9,600 daily trip average on Witzel Avenue. The additional trips generated by the coffee shop and staff general opinion would not see a significant increase in the change of total traffic to the area. So we did not have concern with it. I think we have obviously heard from two members of that business park that they have some concerns. We did notify all property owners within that business park of this to make sure they were aware of it. So staff doesn't really see it as a potential issue, but it does sound like there are some other folks that may.
Okay, Mr. Marshall, any follow-up?
I looked at that as well, as another way to, get into the area. But I mean, would there be consideration to sort of show that can be another entryway in case people don't know, or like what could be done about sort of showing that as an alternative entryway?
Yeah, we could work with the property owner to see about maybe additional signage or something that could be added to that southern location to help maybe better identify that that's another entrance to those businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Councilmember Ford.
Yes, can I ask the developer a question?
Certainly.
I guess just going back to the covenant, I mean, so the background here is I want to make sure we're not setting a developer up to get involved in a property they can't actually use. So I'm just curious if the developer has had conversations with the business park.
We have, and their lawyer has been working with Randy Schmidl, the owner. As far as we can tell, that declaration has since terminated and has not been enforced for some time now. So that's all part of our due diligence. And yes, I wouldn't want to come this far and have a private agreement standing in the way of being able to move it forward. So I appreciate your concern.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you're on top of that. I was thinking maybe, right, table this if you had not had those conversations, but it sounds like you have, so.
Yep.
All right, thank you, the Council Member Ford. Ms. Shireman?
My question is a comment, Mark, you made in response to Phil's question. So 9,600 cars go past Witzel in front of this proposed site. And the increased traffic, what I heard you say was the increased traffic that the coffee shop should produce is not a concern. How much more traffic is there? I mean, there must be counts that where it becomes problematic, because I can feel that this could be like, everybody wants Panda, but they're like, oh my God, I hate the intersection. Okay, Caribou's needed there, but oh, it's so busy there. So my question is, at what point is that bothersome, or break codes or whatever?
Yeah, depending upon the situation, we do get into, statistical analysis of it. When it's a small site, 600 square foot building, we didn't feel it was necessary because it's not going to generate a volume to, I don't have a definitive number to tell you if it's a 10% increase, we automatically do it. We try to take our best judgment looking at each situation independently. If you are a very low volume roadway, even if your number's low, the percentage of the increase is going to be larger. In this case, with such a large traffic volume, it's a very minimal increase in the more of the percentage look at it. But I don't have a specific threshold or number to tell you. We try to use just common practices, looking at number of entrances, configuration of the roadway, crash history, and trying to make those decisions the best we can.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shireman. Mr. Mitchell?
Thanks. I appreciate the neighboring dentist coming and speaking. I think those are valid concerns, but I'm curious, the site plan, the layout has 8 cars in the driveway. Is that based on standard business practices that you've seen at other, or that they've seen at other locations? Or what was the rationale for 8? And the context of that is, I think that's the biggest concern, maybe more so than having to wait 30 seconds to turn. But if cars are backed up into the roadway, then I think it becomes more of a safety concern than an inconvenience. And so I was curious if there was data on that.
Brian had mentioned a little bit of stuff for Brian. Can you go over the average wait? Their service time is what they felt made 8 appropriate. I know Brian has that information.
Yep, the applicant did note that the service time is approximately 2.5 minutes. So with the eight vehicle stacking spaces, they feel that's a sufficient number to fit the vehicles in the drive-through.
So 2.5 minutes is a relatively short cycle time for a drive-through business.
Right. I guess I look at the comparisons of some of the Starbucks in the city, and I'm going to assume that they maybe have similar turnaround timelines, and yet some of those drive-throughs end up, 16, 17, 18 cars backed into the turn lanes, and that's not a concern here, and if not, why?
From a roadway transportation side of things, if this driveway was, or the drive-through was directly backing out of the roadway, it would potentially create more concerns. Typically, when we see these within internal access drives, they have not provided that same level of concern. But a very valid question.
Well, I'm just looking at all of the space, and again, I know we're not looking to try and add extra development over all of the easement area, but is there a way that we could frame, or that this could be developed such that if it ends up being a concern, always there's 9 cars, 10 cars backed up into the area, that there can be some sort of expectation that maybe a second lane is created, and it doesn't even have to be a second lane throughout the whole circle, but even if there's area there that 4 additional cars could turn in, or kind of approaching it from the idea we really don't know, but if we make a mistake, what is the recourse to rectify that?
Yeah, I mean, I would defer to Mr. Garrock if he would ever allow consideration of the drive-through in there. That is really something is under Public Works control for deciding if someone can encroach into an easement.
Well, let's say that they can't. Let's say that's off the table. Fine. What do we do when there's 15 cars backed up? And we've already approved this. It's already been built and it's there.
Yep. And given the limited site constraints, there's probably not a lot of additional we could do. We could potentially look at them, straightening out that drive-through a little bit to head a little more southeast, but then you get into a traffic concern with you've got multiple pinch points where the drive aisle goes east, the driveway crosses the easement north. We could probably fit more stacking, but we're gonna have more kind of conflict points there. I think we would potentially be limited in what future modifications could be made to the site given the constraints.
Okay, so uncertainty, loose end. But my other question is more of an opportunity this creates is that entire part of the land of the property to the north where all of that sewer connection takes place. That's all part of this lot as well, correct?
Correct.
Is there any, has there been any discussion or, I don't know, plans, ideas, thoughts on potentially turning that into some sort of, micro neighborhood pocket park or, seems to be a really great place with the a coffee place, the campus there, the river walk there that we could, either public or even just maintained by a gracious coffee store owner, but a type of little public pocket park in that area, as opposed to just an extended grass surface.
Yeah. It is something that we'd have to work with Public Works on if they would allow any type of improvements outside of green space to be in that easement, if they'd allow it.
I mean, I'm even talking picnic tables,
Yep.
I don't, maybe you need an approval to have a picnic table there as well. I don't know. But.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think we can continue discussion on. I think it's a really good point.
Okay, are there any other plan commission members that would like to have Mr. Koulibaly?
Yeah, thank you. I see that this is a grassy area currently, so therefore an infiltration area that's going to be turned into a paved surface. So I was just wondering if there have been any study on the issue of runoff.
So the area of this disturbance does not elevates to the requirements of including stormwater management on site. They will have to collect and convey water to the right of way. But as far as stormwater quantity and quality, again, the area of development or area of paved surface does not reach the threshold to require it per code.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garage. Any other questions from Plan Commission members? If not, I have a question that I'd like to ask the applicant. The presentation indicates that they are not going to allow the roof sign on the north and south. Well, at least it appears to be a roof sign because you have a pretty high pitched roof there. The roof sign on the north and south end of your building, instead asking you to potentially move it down into the siding area. Is that going to be a problem for you?
The preference is to have it up on the eave line of the roof. It just, as you can tell on these elevations, it's a lot more prominent with the background of the standing metal seam. Bronze really helps that signage be more prominent. So the preference would be to keep it there. I know there are a couple other examples in the city. I don't know if they have the exact same zoning requirements, but there's a Boost Mobile building. There's a Burger King that was recently built that has signage above the eave line, which is not too different than what we're proposing here.
Okay. And so just as a follow-up, these are vertical letters, probably held up by some kind of A-frame type of thing attached to the ceiling. They're not actually flat to the roof line.
That's correct. It's a channel letter that's attached to the roof.
Okay, personally, I don't have a problem with that up there. I think that because of the look of the building, I really don't have a problem with that sight line. I think it helps break up the brown metal, but I'm just laying that out there as my opinion. Okay, any other plan commission members with questions? Mr. Mitchell.
Sorry to belabor this. Can I just ask the applicant quick, if there ends up being a significant traffic issue on a regular basis because you're doing so well, just it's been embraced by the community. What I don't know, options or solutions do you think you would consider if you're continually backing up into the driveway, causing safety concerns and whatnot?
Get the service time down to less than a minute. No, seriously, I don't, it's a good question. You know, that you can what if yourself to death. I guess, you know, we're comfortable with the performance of the other 25 locations. We have not had any issues with excess stacking or problems kind of like you're voicing here. I think, you know, your idea earlier of maybe expanding that drive-through queue into, there's kind of a grassy area before the easement where we could maybe there might be room for 2 or 3 additional cars. I guess it's just something we'd have to study and understand if it really helps or not to, you know, add more capacity to that drive-through.
Thank you for your time.
Any other plan commission members wishing to speak on the motion? Okay, I see none. Mr. Harry, Dr. Harry, I'm unable to recognize you right now as the public comment period is closed. Okay, commission, we've had a discussion on the motion. We need a roll call vote.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Did we lose Hannah?
I'm
Yeah,
here.
we did.
Can you hear me? Sorry, my phone was ringing, so I had to ignore it. Sorry, I'll repeat. Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye,
Motion carried 9-0.
thank you. Item number 3 on the Plan Commission agenda tonight is a general development plan and specific implementation plan for commercial development for property located adjacent to 1300 South Kaler Street. The petitioner is Ernest Campos, Brinker International. Are there any site inspections for this item? Ms. Prop? Mr. Mitchell? Ms. Shireman? That's all I see.
I think Margie did as well, but didn't do their computer hand. She did the real
Okay.
hand.
And it wasn't looking over on the far left of my screen. Anyway, Chair, to accept the staff report as part of the record. Staff, present the summary, please.
Thank you. This is a GDP and SIP request. The subject site is about 2 acres in size, with frontage on South Kohler Street, and it had been previously used as the former Shopco site parking area, which is immediately to the east. It is zoned suburban mixed use with a planned development overlay and the surrounding area is primarily commercial uses. In July of last year, Common Council approved a GDP and SIP for conversion of the former Shopco building to the east for a personal storage facility. And that included a condition that this outlot be developed within 3 years or else return to green space. So here's an aerial view of the subject site. The applicant is proposing a 4,700 square foot dine-in restaurant, which will be a Chili's with 103 parking spaces. The site will utilize an existing shared access from South Kohler Street, and it will include internal driveway connections with the adjacent lot, which is now the storage facility. A cross-access agreement has been executed for the shared driveway and shared connections. Here's the site plan. The plan shows 103 parking stalls, which exceeds the code maximum of 25 spaces. The applicant's narrative notes that the additional spaces are needed to accommodate 170 seats and about 20 employees. Also, additional stalls will serve as parking for the adjacent indoor storage facility to the east. Staff is supportive of the additional parking as it will allow for sufficient parking at peak times and additional parking for the adjacent storage facility as well. Also, a large green space has been added to the rear east side of the site to reduce impervious surface and improve drainage for the site. And the number of parking stalls has been discussed at a Plan Commission workshop prior to submittal. The applicant is requesting BSMs for reduced front yard setback to 5.8 feet for the parking lot and 14.9 feet for the building from the South Kohler Street right of way. This will match the setback of the neighboring U.S. Cellular building to the north and the IHOP parking lot to the south. So staff is supportive of that reduced setback as it will be consistent with the setbacks of the neighboring properties. The rear yard setback is also being shown as being reduced from 25 feet to 20 feet, which will require a BSM. The applicant notes that the reduced pavement setback is needed to allow for additional 7 stalls, which are to be shared with the neighboring storage facility to the east. And only a few of these stalls will extend into that rear setback, with the remainder being green space. Next slide, please. Here is the landscaping plan. It is meeting building foundation landscaping requirements. For paved areas, they will need to provide a few additional shrub points to meet the paved area shrub point requirement of 40%. They are missing some deciduous trees at 4 parking row ends that will need to be added, and that can be addressed during site plan review. For street frontage landscaping, the applicant is requesting a BSM for reduced points to 125.6 points, with 10 points for medium trees, where code requires 224 points, including 112 medium tree points.
Did Margaret just forget, or did she write to you and do together? Or?
So the applicant is proposing to move 7 medium trees from the street frontage to the green space at the east end of the site, rather than being along the street frontage. And they note that that is intended to remain clear of the overhead power lines along South Kohler Street, and also to increase visibility from South Kohler Street. So staff is supportive of moving that landscaping to the east green space area, as they're offsetting it by providing increased yard landscaping points. And they are, again, exceeding yard landscaping points to meet that requirement and meeting all other landscaping requirements. Next slide, please. The applicant is requesting a BSM for reduced setback of a monument sign to 7.6 feet along South Kohler Street, where code requires a 25-foot front yard setback. And that will be consistent with the requested reduced setback for the parking lot, and that is intended to provide visibility of the sign from South Kohler Street. To offset that BSM, the applicant is proposing less signage than would be allowed by code. So the signage again will be relatively smaller than the neighboring signage, and significantly smaller than what would be allowed by code. So that's kind of offsetting that reduced setback from 25 feet. Next slide, please. Here's the lighting plan. They are requesting a BSM for increased lighting level to 0.7 foot candles, where the maximum is 0.5 foot candles along the property line, and that's just for a small area along the north property line. So staff is supportive of that, as it's just for basically shared parking area or adjoining parking area to the north. So we do not see any concerns with that additional lighting. They are meeting the 0.4 foot candle lighting requirement for all parking areas, with the exception of one area along the southwest corner of the parking lot where they're under the 0.4 minimum. So we are recommending they increase that to the 0.4 foot candles, and that can be addressed during site plan review. Next slide, please. Here are the proposed building elevations. The applicant is requesting a BSM to allow the north facade to function as the rear for Class 1 material requirements. So code allows rear building facades not facing a public street to have less than 50% Class 1 material requirements. This being a side facade would require that. However, it is the least visible of the four facades, so staff is supportive of allowing this to function as the rear for Class 1 material requirements. And to offset that, they have increased the Class 1 materials on all of the three other facades, with the total of the four elevations being 50% for the building for Class 1 material requirements. So staff is supportive of that BSM. And with that, staff recommends approval of the GDP and SIP with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
Okay, thank you for that detailed report. Technical questions from the Plan Commission to the staff. Are there any technical questions? I am seeing none. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public comment period, public hearing, and request a statement from the applicant first. Make sure applicants use the address of your queue.
Hello, excuse me. My name's Blake Cox. I work for Freeland and Kaufman. We are hired to do the civil site design for Brinker International, which is Chili's, and the owner, MP Partners. I think Brian pretty much said it all. We're proposing a 4,700 square foot Chili's restaurant here. Given the current use, it's a pretty decent. Hello?
All right, we'll open the public comment for additional comment. Are there any members of the community that would like to speak at this time? Any members of the community that would like to speak at this time? I see none, so I will close the public comment period. I will ask for a closing statement from the applicant. However, since nobody has spoken, it may not be necessary, but do you like to make a closing statement?
Hello, my name's Blake Cox. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I don't know if anybody caught that previously, but I work for Freeland and Kaufman. We're doing the civil site design for Brinker, aka Chili's. Like I said, Brian pretty much nailed it, everything. We're taking an existing parking lot, proposing a 4,700 square foot Chili's. Kind of jives with all the other developments around here, restaurants. I guess I really don't have anything else to say. I just open it up to questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Cox.
Yep, sure.
All right, commission, it's time for your action. Oh, Ms. Prop, do you have a comment or are you making a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion, but I wanted to ask a question to the applicant that I forgot to ask earlier.
Well, make your motion first.
All right, motion to adopt the findings and recommendation as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Prop, seconded by Mr. Kulbali. Commission, discussion on the motion. Ms. Prop.
I wanted to ask what the building material is that is not class 1. The brown, I think it's brown. Yeah, other than the brick, the main building material, what is that?
It's a combination of stone and EIFs, stucco.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mitchell, you were next.
Thank you. Mark, are you able to talk just a little bit about the entrance that is just off of Keller? It it looks like it could potentially be a concern if there were a number of folks trying to get in right there, potentially backing up into the road. I didn't hear any details on that.
Yeah, it lines up with the existing access drives and it not being a drive-through. I wouldn't see that as a potential concern.
Okay, I just know the existing is a 2-lane road that just appeared that it would flow traffic better than that, but if you don't have a concern.
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. So they still have the 2-lane road access drive that goes all the way through the site.
Right, just not the north-south anymore, just
Oh, you mean,
like a
okay.
parking drive.
Yes, it would line up with that existing one to the south. Like I said, just being a drive-through facility, I don't see this potentially an issue.
And one thing I will just quick add to that, it's actually making it quote unquote a little bit better as it's moving it a little bit further east off of the right of way.
Compared to what it is today, Justin.
That's correct. It's about the length of one parking stall.
Correct.
Hey, Miss Davy, you're next.
Thank you. I realize that our laws in Oshkosh don't require this, but I'm curious if you are planning to add any kind of EV infrastructure, given the size of this lot and the length of time that people will likely spend in your establishment.
That I can't say comfortably yes to. This is actually the first I'm hearing of it in Oshkosh, but in many other municipalities that they've put these in, it's common. So they're, I'm assuming, more than willing to do so if required by code or future requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion by Plan Commission? I do have one item myself. Based on size plan in this development and the constraints associated with this lot, it does appear that this is it for this lot. Is that not correct?
Correct. This would be, I believe, the only development placed on that outlot.
Excellent, wonderful, thank you. Any other questions from the Plan Commission on the motion? Discussion? Okay, having seen none, we're up for a vote. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
Item on our agenda tonight is the Planning Director's report.
Thank you, Chairman. Just wanted to bring up the topic we've continued to discuss every couple of meetings, and that is the virtual versus in-person meetings to see if this body has a desire to stay virtual or go back to in-person. Just kind of to lay out kind of what's going on right now, City Hall is still under mask requirements while in city buildings. That could potentially change here in the future, but right now that is still the requirement. Just to remember, we do have about a month lag period of this body meeting versus when our notices and stuff to go out. So right now we'd be looking at like the second meeting in March of having to be the first opportunity we would potentially have. to go back to in-person if you chose to do so, as notices have already went out for the March 1st meeting. If we get too close to the March 15th meeting, we would get into that same timeline. So I wanted to gather some feedback from this group, and I have a couple of other comments, just some thoughts maybe for you at the end of the mask discussion. I know in the past, the primary question or concern that has been brought up has been related to the masking requirement in City Hall. If that is this body's general concern, is they want to match those things up, go back in person when that ends, you could also choose to essentially give me direction that should that requirement change prior to our next set of notices going out, give me the ability to make that decision on your behalf, or we can leave it at your discretion during these meetings. But I really want to get feedback from you on what your preference is right now, and then if in fact it is kind of that dual, if City Hall changes their policy, then you want to be in person. So open it up for discussion.
Hey, I'll throw out a comment. I'm in support of that notion of the mask restrictions going away, going back in person. I would just ask that it be more than a 2-week advance notice if at all possible. I tend to be scheduled out and I don't work in town anymore. And so it would be great if like 4-week notice would be great if that's doable. But I mean, I can make it work other ways, but that would be the most conducive.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I'll just go in real quickly and say that my stance is that I am very receptive to other individual stances. So if somebody is uncomfortable, then I will be comfortable. But if people are willing to do this as well. Ms. Shireman.
Thank you. I recommend that we continue course and follow upon the mask being removed at City Hall. And I prefer to stay the course and, since we feel like it's maybe, could be letting up sooner than later, potentially we can review it again, either in 2 weeks or in 4 weeks. I wasn't supportive of doing it every 2 weeks because it felt like it was going to be at some point down the road, but now we know students are going mask optional coming up, but I still prefer to follow what City Hall is doing.
Thank you, Ms. Shireman. Any other comments on this?
Well, I am flexible, and I think things are getting better. I'll just suggest that we have another reassessment soon, given the speed at which the changes are happening. So,
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kulbali. Ms. Prop, I saw your hand next.
I'll go with what Mara just said, but I'm frankly ready to go back in person.
Okay. Mr. Marshall, I believe your hand was up.
Yeah, I'm flexible as well. If people have any concerns about staying virtual, I can do either, but I think it would be nice to be able to get back in person. So as soon as we can do that, I would recommend that we do.
Okay. Any other comments on this? I see none. So Mr. Lyons, you have your kind of direction.
So we will stay virtual for the March 1st meeting as those notices have already been established. And we'll kind of see where things are proceeding and potentially bring it back on that March 1st meeting if it looks like there are potential changes coming.
Right, I agree. I mean, I work at the library. I have to do what the library wants to do, and the library, of course, is very dependent on what the city wants to do. So I think that there's still a few outlying questions, but I think that there's going to be some addressing of them in the coming weeks here.
All right, perfect. Appreciate the feedback from everyone.
All right, last item on the agenda, Mr. Kiefer, is our adjournment. I need a motion.
So moved. Kiefer.
Oh, okay.
Get Marshall.
right, it's been moved and seconded. We need a roll call vote.
Mr. Coulibaly,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Councilmember Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer, Mr. Marshall,
Aye.
Miss Prop,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mitchell,
Aye.
Chairperson Perry.
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.